welcome back to my channel. This is Pashvika, the channel where we talk about the female motivation, menstrual cycle, productivity, lifestyle, and all those things. In today's video, I'm starting with a series where I'm going to be talking about each and every video from now on, talking about the how to actually sync with the cycle, because there are so many steps in which you can sync with your cycle, and these would be related to the people who are in the menstrual phase, especially the females, and this could also be related to the guys who want to help their girlfriends or who want to help their wives understand how to sync with the cycles. I'll be sharing about how to actually sync your food, that is your diet, and your exercise with your cycle. Let's dive in. Before we go, consider clicking the like button, guys. I do really appreciate that. If you want more such video, consider subscribing, hit the bell icon, and if you're a female, then this channel is exactly for you. Consider subscribing. And also, guys, there is a big disclaimer that everything that I'm going to be sharing with you are completely based on my own experience and knowledge so far. Of course, some of the things may be applicable to you, some of the things may not be applicable to you, and please don't take my advice as an expert advice, because I'm not a physician or I'm not a medical person in this area. Take my advice with a grain of salt. And before going into that part, I also want to tell you guys, with the flow, if you don't know about this book, I purchased this book like few months back only, and I did a review on this channel itself with the flow book, what this book is all about, by the Alissa video. If you want to check out that video, I'm gonna leave that video in the comment section above. But this book is pretty interesting and pretty amazing if you're a female in the menstrual cycle and who want to sync with the cycle, know about the cycle and all those kind of stuff. It's the perfect book, I find, and I love this book related completely to the female. So I'm going to be taking this book into the consideration, and also my own experience and knowledge so far with my own cycle, research and everything. I'm going to be taking all those things into consideration, talking about the diet and the exercise in this particular. So let's talk about that. The first phase that we have is the follicular phase. The follicular phase, according to this book, is being called as the inner spring. So you obviously know what's the spring season look like: the fresh, vibrant, easy to get to going, and all that kind of stuff. When you feel more energized, because just after your menstrual phase has been ended, you have this follicular phase. And this phase, you will be feeling more freshness, more energy, because you have been just gone out from your bleeding phase into the follicular phase. So what kind of the food items that you can eat in your inner spring? The foods that are very light, because the digestion is not that strong at this particular phase. So you need to keep the food items that is not too much heavy. You want to keep it more fresh and light. Spring, we have the fresh, lightness and more energy, but still your hormones are not that rising right now, because in the beginning of the follicular phase, your hormones are low. Okay, your estrogen and progesterone are kind of like a low, so it will going to take some time to rise up. So in this phase, you can go with the fruits and the vegetables or the food items that are more fresh and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to go with the quite hot foods or soups or something like that. No, keep it very fresh, very light, like the fresh veggies, plenty of veggies, the oats, the sprouted beans, and if you are a meat eater, then probably the chicken. Talk about what is the exercise that you want to do in this follicular phase. Of course, these phases just happen very gradually, so you might be in between the two phases, so you can see according to how your body is reacting to the entering the follicular phase from the menstrual to bleeding phase. You're gonna see your energy level begin to increase as your hormones will going to slightly increase in this phase. Okay, so you can have a little bit of the fun cardio, and you can see and test drive how your body is reacting. Hormones are not at all in balance and you feel fatigued or depressed even after walking for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, that means you need to slow down a bit, and you don't need to be too hard on yourself. Just slow down a bit and just do at least 5 minutes of walking or running. That's it. And if you see that if you have a much more energy to go further with that, then you can probably increase your timing from 10 to 15, but please don't overdo it, because right now your hormones are not that high as we want it to be. Once our estrogen level is high, then we have the more energy to do that thing. Let's talk about the second phase. That's the ovulatory phase. This is the best phase ever of our cycle when we have so much energy. Ovulatory phase is when your hormones are at the peak level in your cycle. You have so much energy, you can open up and test and do the different things, and you are open to more stuff. But again, the ovulatory phase is called as your inner summer. Since it's an inner summer, the name itself depicts that you need to eat lighter, raw food. Okay, you don't need to go over to the soups and lentils and highly cooked food or highly baked food. You don't need to go into that. You need to keep the food light, because in the first half of your cycle you have your metabolism, like digestion is a little bit low. Okay, time you need to eat the raw veggies. You can have the test drive over the red bell pepper, the spinach, the tomato, the leafy green vegetables. Then you can have the fruits, that the raspberry and strawberries, because they have the antioxidant property which will going to help your liver metabolizes and detoxify. You see that at this at this phase of the cycle, if your estrogen level is going so far away, you might see the acne or bloating or something kind of like that thing. So that's why keeping the food low and keeping the raw food in your diet, eating them would be more beneficial to help detoxify the excess estrogen that is actually being produced in your body. I do have the acne stuffs in the ovulatory phase, so I'm starting to use this particular thing so that the estrogen don't just go too much into it and we're going to create other stuff. So we want the estrogen to detoxify by the liver and just go out from our body. So that is about the diet. Let's talk about the exercise, how you need to exercise. This is your phase, which is great in terms of the energy. You have very high energy. You can work out very much. Like you can reduce your weight, you can have a good workouts because your energy is high, the estrogen and hormone is high. So you have the high energy. So you can work out a lot in the gym if you're going with the gym. If you're not going with the gym, then you can do the high yielding exercises or tough exercises at your home. You could go with the indoor cycling, boot camp, or kickboxing. Like you can do a bunch of the stuffs at this time, and you can help reduce your weight if you feel like you are gaining a lot of the weight here and there. You can. These are the two phases that we have talked. That's the first half of the cycle when our metabolism is kind of like a low, and at this time we need to eat the food that is having a less calorie, that is a fresh and raw veggies and fresh and raw fruits and all those kind of stuff that we're going to support our liver. We're going to detoxify if the excess estrogen is there from our body. Okay, this is the first half of the cycle, the inner spring and the inner summer. Now we will going to move on to the second half of the cycle. That's the luteal phase and the menstrual phase, which are the phases that is different from the first half of the cycle. About the luteal phase, that is the second half of the cycle. Now in the luteal phase, I can divide into the first half of the luteal phase and the second half of the luteal phase. In the first half of the luteal phase, you have the estrogen a little bit more rise. Okay, you are getting the benefit of the ovulatory phase in the first half of the luteal phase, but in the second half of the luteal phase, you're gonna see a big dip, a lower in the estrogen level, and you're gonna see an increase in the progesterone level. So this is the phase which is called as your inner fall. So you need to shift towards eating the raw and fresh veggies that you were eating in the first half of the cycle, towards eating more calorie food. You need to eat more calorie, more fat and fiber rich food in this phase, because your body needs that, and it will help you having a healthy periods. Okay, so you can shift towards the slow burning carbohydrate like the sweet potato, the brown rice, and then you can also eat the food that is rich in the calcium and magnesium, so that it will going to help you retain the fluids, your calorie and high fiber rich food. And you might see that you would going to have a sugar cravings. Like I do have a sugar craving at this phase. Like I feel like I want to eat a lot of the chocolates, a lot of the pastries, and all of the things that are having a artificial sweetening agent or are rich in the sugars and all that. But instead of going with those particular food items, you could go with the slow burning carbohydrates like the sweet potato and the brown rice. That would be the best one, because they are more healthy in comparison to these pastries and cakes and all that, because they are just there to actually have a good taste in our mouth and we feel like we are having a high carbohydrate rich diet. Half of the luteal phase, your estrogen will going to dip and your progesterone will going to rise, and the progesterone will going to directly impact your digestion, so it will may lead to constipation. So if you are having a food which is having a high fiber, it will going to increase your bowel movement and reduce the constipation as much as I can. So you can see how the cycles have been shifting your body, and according to that you need to shift your diet and your exercise as well. Now let's talk about the exercising in the luteal phase. Since you see in the first half of your luteal phase a bit of the strength training exercises at this time, but when you reach to the second phase of your luteal cycle, decrease, a severe level decrease in the estrogen, so that time your energy will going to go down. So at that time you need to move towards the exercises that is more flexible, like gentle yoga or little bit of the pilates and all that kind of stuff, but you don't need to work out much in this phase. Like the best workout phase or the best phase in your cycle where you can do a high workout is the ovulatory phase. We have the last phase of the cycle. Now this one is the first phase of the cycle technically, but I kept it as the last because I feel like keeping the follicular phase in the beginning, it feels more amazing because that is our inner spring. So that's why I kept as the menstrual phase as the last phase, because that is the phase which we sheds the uterine lining and we sheds the blood and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I keep it as the last. But if you see in the biological books and all that, the people talk about the menstrual phase as the first phase of the cycle. But I think that keeping the menstrual phase as the first phase of the cycle is really doing a disfavor for our females, because we feel like, oh, the menstrual is the first phase of cycle, we would be bleeding, and whenever that thing come into the people like, oh, I'm gonna feel the pain, the pressure and all that kind of stuff. So I want to keep it as the last phase of the cycle and keep as a follicular as the first phase of the cycle, because it's the inner spring and we feel more amazing just after the menstruation. And the menstrual phase, you have all your hormones dipping, right? You're gonna see they have a big dip in the hormones. Because of the hormones dip, you're gonna see your energy level are decreasing. You are shedding the uterine lining along with the bleeding. So at this phase, it's called as your inner winter, okay? So at that time, you need to eat more proteins and high fats so that you can support the blood that is actually shedding out from your body. You can support your body because the body is already in the low hormonal level. So it is not having that much of the energy and the body is still coping with that. And if you don't know about the proteins, proteins are amino acids. They make the amino acids. The amino acids actually makes the hormones. So if you're eating the proteins, it will going to help you with protein, with the hormones making, so that your body naturally going to feel good. So at this time you need to move towards the hot foods, that the soup, you can have amazing soups. And I think that if the winter, if there is a winter season and you're having this menstrual phase, you can have a lot of the hot soups and a lot of the hot drinks at this particular phase, and you can have a high proteins and carbohydrate and fats diet to support your body when it's shedding a lot of the blood. You can also go with the blueberries, the blackberries, the seafood, the kelp, the mori. So this is a time when you can actually focusing on the very hot foods. You don't need to eat a raw food over here, okay? About what are the exercises that you need to do in the menstrual phases. Now, since the energy levels are low because the hormones are low and you don't need to do the heavy workout in the gym, please don't do it. Personally, I feel like when I try to do the running or try to do a walking at the menstrual phase, it helped me relieve that anxiety and also give me a little bit better feeling when I'm just walking and having a night walk or morning walk, whatever it is look like for you. But you need to keep the exercises very light in this particular phase. Little yoga here and there, little muscle stretching exercise. Don't overdo it this time. Don't work out in the gym overdo, because if you do that, it might going to backfire on you, because the body is already losing a lot of the blood and lining. So it's already in a weak stage, and if you are just doing a lot of the heavy exercises, instead of actually losing weight, you may seem that you are actually gaining weight. So don't work out too much at this phase. Keep the things very light and very fresh, and the way in which you can sync with your cycle. Now this is entirely based on my own experience and knowledge, and also based on the flow book. And if you're interested in the flow book, then you can very well check on the Amazon. It's by the alissa. This is an amazing book. You can grab it one. But this is entirely based on my experience. It's not from an expert point of view. If you need any expert help, please contact the physician or gynecologist so that they can help you with any specific related issue that you have in your cycle. But keep in mind that these all things or all these phases are gradual in your cycle, okay? You're not gonna see, okay, 1 to 10 days I have my follicular, now I'm moving to the 11 days, so straightly I'm going to go over to the ovulatory phase. No, you might seem a little bit here and there, the mixing of the two phases, like you might see a 1 day or 2 day, you're gonna see a mixing of the two phases here and there. So you need to see how your body is reacting and then adjust according to your cycle as well. Of course, you don't need to be perfect. I am still not perfect, guys. I'm still adapting and syncing with my cycle, but I can see that if I'm eating 1 or 2 or 3 foods right in my right phase of the cycle, it really helps me a lot. Like, this video will going to help you. Let me know your own cycle syncing experience in the comment section below. Next week's video, I'm gonna be talking about how you can sync your work and how you can deal with the stress with your cycle, syncing with the work according to your cycle in the next week's video. So if you are interested, then consider subscribing so that whenever I'm gonna upload that video, you're gonna get notified about it. And till then, take care. Bye, guys.